He said they come in 2-packs, so it's stored.
An early announcement in 2 weeks. If I'm not mistaken, someone else will be doing this tour. This morning, first I want to apologize. We don't do this enough. We're great at sharing all that God does for us, but sometimes it's good to hear those who receive a blessing from service to God. This morning, I want to tell you the story of a dynamic woman of God who answered the call in the midst of challenges, in the midst of hardships. To give you some history for this wonderful woman whose name was Jezebel. She grew up trapped in an environment when one nation was controlling another. Her freedoms have been taken away. They were forced to work in an environment that was not really that healthy. And yet she still would give birth to 3 lovely children. But at the time she would have her 3rd child, the nation that was controlling them had ordered the death of the male children. This is what this loving mother did because she loved her children and believed in God. Now a man of the tribe of Levi married a Levite woman. She became pregnant and gave birth to a son. When she saw that he was a fine child, she hid him for 3 months. But when she could not hide him no longer, she got a basket for him and coated it with tar and pitch. Then she placed the child in it and put it among the reeds along the bank of the Nile. His sister stood at a distance to see what would happen to him. Then Pharaoh's daughter went down to the Nile to bathe. And her attendants were walking along the riverbank. She saw the basket among the reeds and sent her female slave to get it. She opened it and saw the baby. And he was crying and she felt sorry for him. This is one of the Hebrews' babies, she said. Then his sister asked Pharaoh's daughter, should I go and get one of the Hebrew women to nurse the baby for you? I know most of you say, well, we know this story. What you don't know is what this mother faced. This mother was living in a time when the Israelites were enslaved to the Egyptians. At a time that their God was challenged by the many gods of the pharaohs. What we do know when you watch shows every Christmas and Easter, they show you the movie of the 10 Commandments, don't they? And they tell you the story how this boy grew from one nation to rise up to become one of the greatest prophets and leaders of Israelite history. But it took the love of a mother for that to become reality. It took the love of a mother to say that I will do whatever it takes to protect my child, if it even means my own life. Because in those days, if they resisted the Israelite soldiers coming, not only would they kill the child, but they also would kill the mother. In those days, they did not have or look the value of the Israelite people. They were a number, and they were so afraid of them because of the growing number that they were, that the Pharaoh himself ordered to kill them. Why did I bring this up? Why did I share it? Because my friends, without us realizing it, there are mothers today who are in the same predicament. There are mothers today who have to choose what will they do for their child or for themselves. There are mothers today who are willing to go without so that their children can have. There are women today who will be on that same challenge. Just turn on your TV. Just look at what's going on in Ukraine. Look at the challenges as the Russian army comes across that border. And mothers are caught up in the question of salvation for myself or my children. Just turn on the TV and see the stories of all the mothers. They talk about the fathers who stayed to protect the nation, the sons who stayed to protect. There are also mothers who chose to send their children away. They chose to send them to safety while they risked their own lives to maintain a possibility of what tomorrow might be. Their first example comes from here. You see, this loving mother first had to hide her child. 3 months. I can imagine. I could picture if I asked my wife to let our son go to one place and she was in another. I may not survive today. She'd be saying, "You're out of your mind." But you imagine a loving mother who risked her life, first of all, to hide their child, but then to put their child in a basket and send it down the very aisle to the very location of the king's house, to Pharaoh's house. And out of love, she says, sends his sister to watch him. But she knew she had a God that was greater. She said, if I'm faithful, my child would only survive, but it will affect not only me, but those down the road later. Because when she finally got there and Pharaoh's daughter said yes, and let me take this child, didn't think about it. Every day she had to come and nurse this child, knowing it was her child, and have to walk away. Have to leave her child with the very people that wanted to take their children's life. How many of us could do that? How many could give your child to the very enemy that you face on a daily basis? That's what this loving mother had to do. That's what this loving mother did. Or if you read further in the text, it says this in verse 7. Then his sister asked Pharaoh's daughter, shall I go and get one of the Hebrew women to nurse the baby for you? Yes, go, she answered. So the girl went and got the baby's mother. Pharaoh's mother said to her, take this baby, nurse him for me, and I will pay you. I'm not a mother, but I can tell you that my son is my world. I can tell you that whatever I can do for David, I would do at any cost. But to have had to place him in another person's arms and to walk away knowing this was my child, I don't know if I had that kind of courage. don't know that I can go day in and day out, especially for her to nourish this child that she knew she could not take home. She could not watch grow up. And had to play the game of, I don't know who you are, knowing it was the very child she gave birth to. Mothers. What won't mothers do to love their children and to support their family? Because it also says she was being paid to nourish her own child, so that she meant she could give the funds to her husband so they could have nourishment too. We choose this day to say Mother's Day, but I'm sorry, but for me, Mother's Day should be every day. It should be a day of thanksgiving for those who not only gave us life, but took the time to raise us. But most of us in this room must understand, as much as we love our fathers who were usually off at work, it was Mom who raised us. We just heard a wonderful story how a mom was encouraging a son to clean up his room, to take out the trash. Even though he didn't want to, he knew that it was to benefit him down the road. See, I was blessed. I had 3 mothers.
Yeah.
So I had the triple the love. And I was able to understand, because all of them also worked. It wasn't like they stayed home, they worked too. But they instilled in me a desire to care, a desire to look for others' concerns just as much as I ought to look for my own. I think about my natural mother who had to give me away to my adopted mother. It took me a long time to understand how she could say she loves me and send me away. And most children are like, you can't love me if you leave me like that. But because she knew of my physical condition, being a preemie child, it took a lot of medical care that she didn't have the insurance to take care of, but yet my adopted mother did. So out of love for me, she sacrificed so that I could get the care that I would need down the road to become the man that you see today. A mother's love. This loving mother that we know would be Moses' mother was in the same boat. She wanted to care to the point that she was willing to sacrifice all. She was willing to do what it took to make sure her child succeeded. Not only, first of all, to get past the idea of being massacred by the Egyptian army. First she hid him, then she put him in the very center of those who despised her. And then to watch him grow up from a distance. Can you imagine as he rolled by, because at one point he was considered almost as equal to the Pharaoh's son, riding by in his chariot and looking up knowing that's her child, but she could never cry out saying, Moses, here I am. Could you imagine as he ordered his own people to do ungodly chores or responsibilities, because that's how he was trained. But in the same time, he was being shaped to become one of the leaders that would change the world. One of the leaders not only would set his own people free with the support of God and following God's call, but it would affect how we would get to know God. How we would see God as the creator of the heavens and the earth in his actions, but it would not have taken place if his mother first did not love him and love God. It would not have taken place if she did not say he was more important than myself. I'm willing to sacrifice see him grow up in an environment that was not comfortable for most of us. We love the story of Moses. We love all that he would become. My friends, this morning, I want you to remember why he was able to achieve. Of course, God was there, but the person who was willing to sacrifice was his mother, Jochebed, who said yes to God, who became the unknown woman. People for years would not know who she was until you look in the text down the road and they're given the lineage of Moses and Aaron, of the Levite line. My friends, on this day, and it should be every day, but this day, focus and look at your mothers and remember the sacrifices they made or are currently making. Like the one that I asked you to pray for over there, facing the challenges because of war. Or the ones here in America who are struggling because they don't make enough funds to feed their children, house their children, or put clothes on their backs. Yes, friends. Our mothers are still fighting today here to, in some cases, just to make it day to day. In the sacrifices they're willing to make. Because of the lack of many resources that they may need to have a normal day. Think of the mothers who answered the call even though they may not have natural children themselves, were there if they were at teaching at school, nurse daycares and nurseries, who came and inspired our children to become the dreamers of tomorrow. Teachers. Think about the mothers who would come and, I don't know about you, when I grew up, we had Sunday school where it was my aunts and uncles in my case, teaching the Word of God. Taking the time to introduce us to the possibilities of the love that God may bring to others. On this Mother's Day, I only ask this, and I hope you hear the faithfulness of one can change the world. The commitment of one can open doors for others to rise beyond their circumstances. That's what she did in her actions. She allowed her son to rise to the greatest heights of heights, only to be removed so he could go and walk into the mountaintop and meet God on the hill and hear the voice of God saying, "You will go to set my people free." Moses could not have reached that goal if his mother first did not make it up in her heart and mind to take the steps necessary to protect him. You ask, how much does mom give up? How much does mom love me? I tell you today, more than you can measure, more in price you could ever range to earn or desire. Because the love of a mother is greater than that which the world can see. The love of a mother is greater than that, than what we can imagine in our hearts and minds by what they do, how they do it, and more importantly, why they do it. Today, as we close, look around and thank the mothers here and all those you know around you. For it is our mothers who truly open our eyes to reality. Show us the love the world dare not present and encourage us to be what we seek to be when the world says we're not worthy. Friends, we thank the mothers today for their faithfulness in inspiring us to have the faithfulness to move mountains, because they remove the barriers for us. Turn with me to
Mother Day presentation.
There's that mom again.
We've got some goodies that we need to disperse this day. But before that, I want to read just a little something about the first month. Adam called his wife's name Eve because she was the mother of all living. Genesis 3:20. A lot of people all over the world, both past and present, want to be first. First in space. First to the top of the mountain. Did you ever think of the first mother? Just think what that would have been like. No Lamaze classes, no pregnancy books, or even a doctor. Just think, no epidurals. Eve didn't even have anyone with her when Cain was born, telling her that women have been doing this for 1,000 years. It'll be all right. No birthing coach, no other women around to help, no nurse at the hospital to bring her first baby boy when he went fed, no one to take care of her other than Adam, and he was the first husband, newly made, and new to the whole thing of life. I wonder how he did. Eve didn't have books to read on rearing kids, no famous child psychologist or with theories on child raising, no online support groups. She had to figure it out on her own. Poor Eve. She didn't even have Babies R Us to shop at. She never even had a babysitter, and she didn't have a mom she could call up and ask for advice. I'm sure Eve must have enjoyed her children like all mothers do. I'm confident that Eve had wonderful moments with her first 3 boys and her other children when they were babies, toddlers, and children growing up. There isn't too many details about Eve in the Bible, but I think reflecting on her life, we can ask ourselves a few questions. How do you handle being tempted? Are you good at handling temptation? How do you handle being a mother? What kind of a mother are you, or were you? There's so many areas that revolve around being a mother that usually is a process to be the mother we like to be. How do you handle heartbreak? Eve was the first to have to handle a mother's heartbreak from her children. Heartbreak from your children can be such a blow to any mother. How do you handle sorrow? I guess Adam and Eve were the first to shed tears over a lost loved one, as well as other firsts. I think we don't need to worry about concentrating on any firsts ourselves, but we should concentrate on who we keep first in our lives. It's then that we can be the wife, the mother, the women that Lord would have us to be. Putting Christ first will help us as we work on being the kind of woman a Christian should be. Now the fun time. We have this beautiful gift here of these flowers goes to the oldest mother here, which I think would be Miss Belva, because she's 98. Now, the rest of you, in your bulletins, next to where the flower presentation is, there's a number. So, anyone who has number 3, now if it's a
list on the back table. As you know, on the first Saturday of June, we do the 5K run. Those who have volunteered to work with one another and watch that take place. Boss, are we done? In closing, we have a song you'll find on page 430 entitled, "O Master, Let Me Walk With Thee." Heavenly Father, on this day that we call Mother's Day, allow us to remember that you first loved them. You first implanted love within their hearts to reach out and to teach others what love was all about. As we leave this place, Father, let us lift up all of our mothers, but more importantly, all those who serve in that role. Not because of what they do, but more because of the benefits in teaching, of learning what it means to love on this day and every day. In Christ we pray. Amen.
Amen.